Have you ever been told that aging is a slow surrender, a quiet farewell to the joys of youth, including intimacy? Maybe someone, somewhere along the line, whispered that after a certain age, it's no longer necessary, that it's a chapter best closed as the years pile on. Perhaps you've even felt that subtle pressure yourself, the unspoken assumption that vitality fades, and with it, the need for connection, even with yourself. But what if I told you that science begs to differ? What if, instead of being a relic of younger days, keeping intimacy alive, yes, even solo, could be the secret to a healthier, longer, and more vibrant life? Picture this, a single habit, so natural and unassuming, that could transform your golden years from a time of decline into a season of strength and renewal. It's not just wishful thinking, it's backed by evidence, and it might just change the way you see aging forever. As we grow older, our worries shift. We fuss over our heart's steady rhythm, the sharpness of our mind, the ease of our steps. These are the pillars we lean on, the markers of a life well lived. But what about those quieter, more private functions, the ones we rarely mention in polite company? They matter more than you might think. Neglecting them doesn't just dim a spark. It could hasten the very aging process we fear, weakening our bodies and leaving us vulnerable to serious ailments. The truth is bold and unapologetic. Self-pleasure in your later years isn't a frivolous indulgence or a guilty secret. It's a lifeline. It's a habit that could protect your prostate, lift your spirits, and even add precious years to your journey. So settle in, because we're about to explore 6 remarkable, science-backed benefits of keeping intimacy alive as you age. From shielding your body against disease to soothing your mind in restless nights, each reason builds a case that's impossible to ignore. Stick with me to the end. You'll see how this one simple act could keep you stronger, sharper, and more alive than you ever imagined. Number 1. A shield for your prostate. Let's start with something that hits close to home for men. Prostate health. It's a small gland, tucked away beneath the bladder, often overlooked until it demands attention. Yet, its role is monumental, producing fluid that nourishes and carries sperm. A quiet workhorse of the body. As the years stack up, though, it's prone to trouble. Inflammation, enlargement, even cancer. These loom larger with age, casting shadows over what should be peaceful years. But here's the surprise science hands us. Regular intimacy, particularly through self-pleasure, can be a powerful shield. Studies, yes, rigorous ones, like those published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, have found that men who ejaculate frequently, even into their later decades, slash their risk of prostate cancer by as much as a third compared to those who don't. Why? It's beautifully simple. Ejaculation acts like a reset button, flushing out toxins, old fluids, and potential carcinogens that might otherwise fester, sparking inflammation or worse. Imagine your prostate as a tiny reservoir. Left stagnant, it clogs, congested with buildup that leads to swelling, discomfort, or conditions like benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, where the gland grows, pressing on the urethra and turning a trip to the bathroom into a nightly ordeal. Symptoms creep in: the urgent need to go, a trickle instead of a stream, a bladder that never feels empty. Some shrug and call it inevitable, a badge of age. But it doesn't have to be. Keeping things moving regularly, naturally, reduces that congestion, eases inflammation, and keeps the gland humming along. Take George, an 81-year-old retiree with a shock of silver hair and a laugh that still echoes through a room. For years, he'd battled nighttime woes, up every hour, pacing to the bathroom, exhaustion settling into his bones by morning. He chalked it up to time's toll until a frank chat with his doctor flipped the script. "Try this," the doc said, suggesting George weave regular self-pleasure into his routine. Skeptical but desperate, he did. Within months, the change was undeniable. Fewer midnight treks, less pressure, a bladder that cooperated. He'd sit on his porch now, sipping coffee, marveling at how a small shift had restored a piece of his old self. George isn't an anomaly. Science backs his story. By staying active in this way, you're not just dodging discomfort, you're fortifying your body against threats that grow with age. Your prostate, it turns out, doesn't just tolerate this habit, it thrives on it. Number 2, a boost for your beating heart. Now let's shift to the engine that keeps us going. Your heart. It's more than a pump. It's the rhythm of your days, the quiet promise of every sunrise. We guard it with kale smoothies and brisk walks, but there's another ally in the fight for cardiovascular health, one you might not expect. Regular intimacy, yes, even on your own, does wonders for your heart, weaving strength and resilience into every beat. Picture it. As you engage, your pulse quickens, blood surges through your veins, vessels stretch and flex. It's not unlike a light jog, but cozier, more personal. Research, like a sweeping study from the American Journal of Cardiology, shows that men who maintain sexual activity a few times a week enjoy lower blood pressure, smoother circulation, and a reduced risk of heart attacks or strokes. This isn't fleeting pleasure. It's a long-term investment in the organ that defines your vitality. What happens when blood flow falters? The signs are subtle at first. Cold fingers, a sluggish step, a fog of fatigue that lingers. Over time, it's graver. Arteries stiffen, plaque builds, and the specter of hypertension or heart failure looms. But intimacy keeps the system humming. It dilates blood vessels, oxygenates tissues, and sweeps away the cobwebs of a sedentary life. It's a natural tune-up, no gym required. Meet Henry, a 74-year-old grandfather with a twinkle in his eye and a garage full of half-finished woodworking projects. Once a marathon runner, he'd slowed with age, his energy sapped, his cheeks pale. His doctor flagged poor circulation, hinting at pills, but offered another path first. Stay active. In every way you can. Henry blushed, but listened. Months later, sawdust flying as he sanded a cedar chair, he felt it, his old vigor creeping back. His blood pressure steadied, his sleep deepened, his heart thumped with purpose. He'd laugh, telling his kids, "Who knew the fix was so simple?" It's not magic, it's physiology. By keeping blood flowing, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. Your heart, ever faithful, rewards the effort. Number 3, mastering bladder control and easing prostate woes. Aging has a way of sneaking up on us, doesn't it? One day, you're bounding through life. The next, you're counting bathroom trips in the dead of night. For many men past 60, bladder control and prostate health become silent struggles, frustrating, exhausting, and all too often dismissed as just part of getting old. But what if there's a way to push back? Something so innate it feels like second nature. Regular sexual release, solo or otherwise, might just be the key. It's not a cure-all, but it's a quiet hero, strengthening the very muscles and systems that keep these issues at bay. Here's how it works. The pelvic floor muscles, a hidden sling beneath your core, hold everything in place. Bladder, prostate, the works. As we age, they weaken, sagging under time's weight, leading to leaks, urgency, or that nagging sense of never fully emptying. Prostate troubles pile on too. Enlargement pressing against the urethra, inflammation flaring up. But intimacy is a workout for those muscles. Each release contracts and tones them, like a gym session you didn't know you were having. Studies hint at the payoff. Men who stay sexually active report fewer prostate complications and better urinary control. It's not just about clearing fluids, it's about keeping the machinery strong. Picture Jim, a 74-year-old retired firefighter with hands rough as oak and a voice that once barked orders over roaring flames. In his younger days, he'd haul hoses and scale ladders. Now, he was losing sleep, trudging to the bathroom 4-5 times a night. The exhaustion etched lines deeper into his weathered face. "I'm falling apart," he'd mutter, half joking, until a doctor's visit changed the tune. "Keep the prostate active," the doc advised, explaining how circulation and muscle tone could ease his woes. Jim, pragmatic as ever, gave it a shot. Weeks later, he was down to 1 trip, or none. The pressure faded, the fatigue lifted, and he'd grin, saying, "Guess the old engine's still got some kick." Science nods along. Ejaculation flushes bacteria from the urethra, boosts pelvic blood flow, and cuts inflammation. It's a natural maintenance plan, and Jim's living proof. Why does this matter? Because it's more than convenience. It's dignity. It's waking up refreshed instead of ragged, reclaiming control over a body that's carried you this far. Society might blush or shrug, but your body doesn't care about taboos. It's designed for this, and it rewards you for listening. Number 4, lifting the clouds of the mind. Aging isn't just a physical journey, it's an emotional odyssey. The years bring wisdom, yes, but also shadows, loneliness that creeps in like dusk, stress that gnaws at the edges, depression that dims the colors of life. For many over 60, these battles feel heavier, harder to shake, but there's a light in the dark, a natural balm woven into our very being. Regular sexual release isn't just a physical act, it's a lifeline for mental well-being, a spark that can reignite joy when the world feels gray. When you engage, your brain lights up like a fireworks show. Endorphins flood in, washing away tension. Oxytocin, the love hormone, wraps you in calm. Dopamine dances through, whispering happiness. It's a chemical symphony, as potent as a runner's high, but softer, more intimate. Research backs it up. Studies link regular intimacy to lower cortisol, stress's ringleader, and higher serotonin, the steady hand of contentment. It's not just a fleeting lift, it's a reset for a mind under siege. Consider Frank, a 72-year-old widower with kind eyes and a quiet gait. After losing his wife of 40 years, grief settled into his bones. The house, once alive with her laughter, echoed with silence. TV flickered, walks stretched on, but nothing touched the ache. His doctor, gentle but firm, nudged him towards self-care, intimacy included. "I felt silly," Frank admits, his voice a gravelly whisper. "Thought that was for kids." But he tried, and slowly the fog thinned. Nights grew less restless. His smile returned, faint but real. "It's like I remembered I'm still here," he'd say, tracing the rim of his coffee mug. It wasn't a cure, but a tether, a reminder of his own vitality. This goes beyond chemistry. It's about reclaiming yourself. Aging can chip away at confidence. Wrinkles deepen, strength fades, and doubt whispers you're less than you were. But this act, private and powerful, says otherwise. It's a quiet rebellion against decline, a nod to the life still pulsing within. Whether you're wrestling stress, sadness, or just the wear of days, it's a tool, simple, free, yours. There's no expiration date on feeling good, and Frank's story proves it. Number 5. A fortress against prostate peril. For men, crossing the threshold of 60, the prostate often becomes a quiet adversary, a ticking clock of potential trouble. Enlargement, discomfort, cancer. These aren't just words in a medical pamphlet. They're real threats that grow louder with each passing year. We don't talk about it much, maybe because it feels too personal, too fragile. But here's a truth that cuts through the silence. Regular sexual release could be your body's best defense. It's not a hunch, it's science, with studies suggesting that men who ejaculate often, even into their later decades, can lower their risk of prostate cancer by up to 33%. That's not a small number. It's a lifeline. Think of your prostate as a diligent craftsman, churning out fluid to keep the reproductive system running. But if that fluid sits too long, it's like water in a forgotten bucket, stagnant, murky, prone to trouble. Toxins linger, inflammation festers, and the gland swells, pressing on nerves and pipes until daily life feels like a negotiation. Regular release, though, is a cleansing tide. It sweeps away the debris, keeps the system fluid, and cuts the odds of something sinister taking root. It's maintenance, pure and simple, an engine tuned by nature's design. John knows this too well. At 68, this retired mechanic, with grease-stained memories and a lopsided grin, faced his own wake-up call. Nights grew restless, with frequent bathroom dashes. Sitting became a chore, and his once steady stream weakened to a dribble. "Thought it was just the mileage, Vic," he'd say, shrugging over his morning oatmeal. A urologist set him straight, an enlarged prostate, flirting with worse. Pills were an option, but the doc pitched a simpler fix first: stay active, down there too. John, practical to his core, took it in stride. Months later, the pressure eased, the trips dwindled, and he'd chuckle, "Guess I'm still roadworthy." It wasn't just comfort he gained, it was peace of mind, knowing he'd dodged a bigger fight. This isn't about dodging the inevitable, it's about stacking the odds in your favor. Prostate issues aren't a rite of passage, they're a risk you can temper. And the tool? It's already yours. No prescription needed. John's not alone. Countless men could tell you the same. A little effort goes a long way, and the payoff is a body that feels more like home. Number 6. The gift of restful nights' sleep. The elusive sanctuary of age. As the years pile on, it slips through our fingers. You lie there, staring at the ceiling, mind racing or body restless, waking to a dawn that feels more like defeat than renewal. For many over 60, it's a nightly battle, hormones shifting, stress simmering, the body's clock ticking out of sync. But what if the key to deeper, sweeter slumber was already within reach? Regular sexual activity, even solo, isn't just a pleasure, it's a lullaby, coaxing your body into the rest it craves. Here's the magic. When you climax, your system unloads a soothing cocktail, oxytocin to calm, prolactin to satisfy, a dip in cortisol to hush the noise. It's like a warm blanket settling over you, muscles loosening, breath slowing. Studies nod in agreement. People who maintain this habit report falling asleep faster, staying asleep longer, and waking refreshed. It's not just the act, it's the aftermath, a cascade of calm that rivals any pill. The physical exertion helps too. Blood pressure dips, tension melts, and your circadian rhythm, that internal metronome, finds its beat again. Robert, a 78-year-old retired teacher with a bookshelf of worn classics and a voice soft as old leather, spent years chasing sleep. Insomnia was his shadow. No coffee after noon. No screens. Herbal teas by the gallon. Yet still he'd lie awake, thoughts spinning like a broken record. I'd teach all day in my dreams, he'd sigh, rubbing tired eyes. A friend's offhand tip, backed by a curious Google dive, pointed him to Intimacy's sleep link. Skeptical but desperate, he tried it. Weeks in, the change crept up. His mind quieted, his body sank into the mattress, and morning greeted him with clarity, not grog. It's like I've tricked time, he'd muse, cradling a mug of tea. Science explains it. This natural release mimics the body's sleep signals, resetting a system worn by age. Sleep isn't a luxury, it's a pillar. Poor rest frays your health, dulls your mind, saps your days. But this? It's a gentle rebellion against sleepless nights, a way to reclaim the peace you deserve. Robert's not tossing anymore. He's dreaming, and so could you. Final thoughts. Aging on your terms. So here we are, at the end of this journey, and one truth shines through. Your body doesn't clock out when the candles multiply. Society might whisper otherwise, shame or silence cloaking what's natural, but science shouts back. Intimacy, even with yourself, isn't a footnote to youth. It's a cornerstone of vitality. It guards your heart, sharpens your mind, shields your prostate, soothes your soul, and ushers in sleep. Imagine it. Less stress, tightening your chest, more mornings where you feel alive. A body that hums with purpose instead of creaking under neglect. This isn't a pipe dream. It's a reality, etched in research and lived by men like George, Henry, Jim, Frank, John, and Robert. Aging doesn't have to be a fade to gray. It's not about surrendering to discomfort or disconnection. It's about claiming the years ahead with strength and grace. This habit, so simple yet profound, hands you the reins. Picture George sipping coffee on his porch, free of midnight treks. Henry sanding wood with steady hands. Jim grinning at his regained control. Frank finding light in loss. John tuning his body like an old car. Robert dreaming beneath a quilt of stars. They're not outliers, they're proof. Your body craves care, no matter the calendar, and this is one of the easiest, most joyful ways to give it. So, what's the takeaway? Don't let myths or murmurs dictate your health. This is about you, your well-being, your power to defy decline. It's not about what others expect, it's about what you deserve. Step into it, embrace it, and watch how a small choice ripples into a life fuller than you dared hope. Share your thoughts below. What struck you? What will you carry forward? Your voice fuels this conversation, and I can't wait to hear it.